Virtual Racing, one of Sega's most ambitious and important titles. But there was during the fourth generation, there was two versions released. Okay, two of them, at least for Sega's most popular machine at the time, the Sega Genesis. Those versions being Virtual Racing for the Sega SVP chip, or just using the Sega Virtual Processor, a special chip designed in the vein of, essentially, if you ever heard of Super Nintendo and you ever heard of the Super FX chip, the SVP chip was designed to be a counter to that, and it worked really well. But there was another version, a less spoken about version, released at that same time. That version being Virtual Racing Deluxe for the Sega 32X. So how do they stack up? Which version should you get? Find out in this video. Hey Slayers, I'm the world's coolest Sega enthusiast, Sega Slayer 64. I'm never doing that again. Okay, and welcome to, I don't know what I'm going to title this video. Maybe Battle of the Bits, I'm guessing? Battle of the Bits. And welcome to Battle of the Bits. And today, we will decide once and for all what is the definitive version of Virtual Fight Racing. Okay, racing. Virtual Racing. We have two versions to look at today. We have the SVP chip for the Sega Genesis, or Virtual Racing, or just normal Virtual Racing, and Virtual Racing Deluxe for the Sega 32X. Which version should you go with? Which version should you play? Well, we'll find that here in this video. So the first thing, we'll go ahead and start off with the SVP chip version, because this is the simpler version of the two. Now, back in the day when this would have came out, the SVP chip was a Sega Virtual Processor, as you would call it, was similar in vein to the Super FX chip, in that it was a chip put inside the actual Genesis cartridge itself, allowing games to have 3D polygons and be fully 3D, using only the 16-bit hardware. Now, this was a very cool method. Sega had multiple games planned, including the likes of Virtual Fighter, including the likes of Daytona USA, Virtual Fighter, and a few others. But the first one that ever got made was Virtual Racing. And not only was this the first one, it was the only one, which is kind of sad. I really wish they would have made more SVP chip games. But it is what it is. Probably because maybe it was popular, but it wasn't that popular, because it drove cost of the games up significantly. In some places, the games were over $100. In other places, I heard they were only $80. Someone said $90. So prices tended to vary, maybe, I'm guessing, on this game. I don't know. Some places I heard over 100. Some other places I heard 80. So this game could be at least double the price. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's a very expensive game. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it probably didn't do that well, but it did a really good job of transforming the Sega Genesis into a little 3D capable machine. And you know what? All in all, I probably wish Sega would have kept on, instead of dealing with like the 32X. It might have worked out better in their favor if they released more games on SVP. You know what I'm saying? That being said, we're not here to talk about that today. That's a Sega history episode at some point. I don't know. Whenever Sega history returns this summer. But that being said, let's get right into this, okay? So when you get into the Genesis version, the first thing you'll notice is you have different modes. You have Virtual Racing, you have Free Run, 2-player versus, yes, this game has 2-player, records, and options. So, since I have no friends, and I'm just gonna go ahead and play these two versions. Sad Sega Slayer noises. Now, Virtual Racing, and you'll notice the menus are in 3D, which is really cool, and we'll just go ahead and click start. Now, the first thing you'll notice is the menus are very simplistic. The music is also really good, at least for me. I'll let you hear it. Man, I really like the music in Virtual Racing, but the first thing you'll notice is you have 3 courts. You have beginner, medium, expert. And I did not mean to choose expert because I suck at expert and medium, really. Let's be honest here, man. I just suck at this game, period. And you'll notice the game's in full polygon mode. Your car is fully 3D. You have different camera angles you can choose from. I don't know how to activate them. Would we start? Oh no, maybe you can't. Oh wait, never mind. You can't activate the camera angles in this version, can you? No, yeah, you cannot. But you'll notice the game's in full polygon 3D for the Sega Genesis. It has full music, sound effects, and everything, and it looks overall pretty nice. Although it can get the view distance kind of sucks. But let's be honest here, the view distance sucks in the 32X version. You know what I'm saying? Neither version are fully able to capture the arcade glory. Although I would argue the 32X does it just a bit better, just because the SVP chip is basically using bare Genesis hardware, but the SVP chip itself is basically the one drawing all the polygons, which, you know, is a little bit, most of the strain is still in the Genesis, and, you know, by this point, the Genesis was a few years, it was kind of it was starting to get old, you know what I'm saying? Starting to get up in its grandpa years. New and hit consoles like the Saturn and 32X and all them were starting to come out. And I mean, I don't technically count the 32X as its own. I count the 32X. I don't know if I count the 32X as its own console or not, because you need the Genesis. But it did have its own library. Okay, listen. I'm getting off topic again here. So virtual racing really is similar in vein to like Outrun and if you've ever played Daytona USA, you've played virtual racing. Now, virtual racing was really popular in arcades for really showing off Sega's. If I'm being honest, there were polygon games before virtual racing that came out. Namco's what was it called? I don't want to say Rally X. No, it's not Rally X. I cannot remember what it's called. But Namco had a couple of polygon games, especially racers. I guess racers were just easy to make and with polygons. But a few other games, let's just say, came out back in the day with polygons, and they were alright, but they weren't anything too special to write home about, and I'm dead. I told you I sucked at expert. I told you I didn't want to do expert. Now listen, they were okay, but they weren't like this good. Like virtual racing at the time, I picked expert again. Virtual racing at the time really blew away the competition when it came to like overall just like graphics and feel of the game. Like it all felt so good and looked so good. I mean, you had 3D polygon characters, tires, cars. The environment looked good. The maps looked nice, and it was actually fun to play. You know what I'm saying? And it's similar in Outrun in that your goal is to come in first of the race, but at the same time, you gotta watch out for your time limit, and every time you go through the checkpoints right here, you get a time bonus and it extends your time. You want to win the race before you run out of time. You know what I'm saying? You obviously want to do your best to stay on track, and it really helps to memorize the tracks in this game, as it does with any other game, but especially in this game, because the less walls you hit, the less you travel in the grass, the less you wipe out, you know what I'm saying? The better you'll do in the race, and your ultimate goal is to come first in these races if you can. Your car can get a little banged up, and that was another big feature of this game, you know what I'm saying? I accidentally took the pit stop. I did not mean to take the pit stop. But your car could actually get a little banged up, and you could have your pit crew help you out. And for some reason, they always jump back like that. I don't know why they always do that. But they always do jump back like that. Maybe they do that in real races just to avoid getting hit by the car. I can't tell you the truth. But to help you out in your race, if your car does end up getting a little banged up, and I'll try and see if I can. I'm gonna intentionally try and get my car destroyed so I could help you out. But your car can get banged up, at least cosmetically and physically. It does hurt your overall chances of winning the race by a lot. The more your car gets banged up, but that's why you have a pit stop. And I always love the games that do that. Virtual racing to me is more of a, how can you say, early version. It's almost like a concept version of Daytona USA. Because I think Daytona USA is the game that really perfected this type of style in polygon racing. At least for me. You know what I'm saying? Some people might disagree. And to that, I'll say each their own. But personally, I feel like Virtual Racing just feels like more of a more prehistoric version of Daytona USA, and Daytona USA was like the game to perfect this type of racing style. But still, Virtual Racing when it came out made a big impact. It was really fun, so naturally people wanted arcade home ports at the time, you know what I'm saying? But there weren't any consoles. Well, there were consoles, but there really weren't consoles that could do this. Well, at least Sega didn't have a console that could do this justice. So obviously, competing with Sega Nintendo Super FX chip, Sega designed the SVP chip, and here we are today. And the game itself, like I said, it's fun. Now, you could tell, now obviously the frame rate is actually, if anything, and I'll be 100% honest with you, the frame rate is better here than on the 32X for whatever reason. I don't know if 32X games just like to lag for me. I've never had, from my experience, it says they're running full speed, but the game just feels like it's lagging to me. Now, obviously, like I said, the game here, the graphics, they are what they are, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, they're super impressive when you consider this is a Genesis game, you know what I'm saying? And for it to just be using a chip to draw the polygons, it looks very nice, very nice. But you'll notice a few things, at least for me, the game looks washed out, kind of, like, I don't know, the colors just look weird, and just overall, it has, like, a very, like, I don't know, weird, like, gargly effect. And, that might be a side effect of my screen. I mean, my screen is a full 1080p LCD display, at least because I'm playing on my phone right now. It's a full 1080p LCD display, but, I mean, it's not an OLED or anything. But, I don't know, the game just looks weird. At least in person. It might look fine for you guys, but it feels a little, like, washed out and, like, has, like, a layer of film over top of it, if I could explain it in any way. That's how I would explain it personally. Now, I suck at this game, okay? I suck at all these games. I suck at 99% of the games I play, but I still have just enough skill to review this game. And personally, I like the medium course the best because I can do it and it looks nice. But that's really the gist of the Genesis version. I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's fun. I mean, you got one car to pick from, you know what I'm saying? You only got this one right here. And not only do you only have one card, you only have the 3 maps. And there really isn't a sound. There's a soundtrack, but there really isn't a soundtrack during gameplay, which, it might turn some people off. That's why I think that's another reason I said, like, only time you get music is if you pass a checkpoint. And which is why another reason I like Daytona USA more. I'm done, dude. So you gotta be in 16th by the time you eventually do run out of time. But we'll try some of these other modes real fast. We'll try the free run mode real fast. And what the free run mode is, it essentially just allows you to, I guess you can say, it's a good way for you to get practice in on these courses, because you can just go around as many times as you want until you're ready to stop, and you can just practice the courses, which is really nice, which is a really nice touch, because Sega really did not have to put this in. You know what I'm saying? They really did not have to put this in, because like I said, with virtual racing, you want to learn these courses. You know what I'm saying? You want to learn, because for a beginner, you get in and it's like, well, you're gonna suck obviously at first. You know what I'm saying? But this is a very turn heavy game. Okay, virtual racing is a very turn heavy game, and for people like me who don't usually turn too well in racing games ever, even in for me, I have to have for me to really do good in a racing game, I need a dedicated drift button. So I'm more suited to party racers than I am how you say, simulation racers. You know what I'm saying? I'm more suited to your Forzas, your Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, your Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed. You know what I'm saying? Your stuff like that. Your more party type racers is what I'm more accustomed to, just because I suck at drifting and trying to actually turn. But your car here actually does feel like it has weight in the SVP version, which is good. You always want your cars to have weight to them, you know what I'm saying? Any character, really. You always want them to feel like they have weight to them, and they feel like they have weight to them here. Now, personally, one thing I do want to say is, if you're using a D-pad for this game, it's a little bit harder to play. I mean, it was obviously designed for a D-pad, but if you're playing this on an emulator, and you have access to a more modern controller, it'll be a lot easier having an analog stick to play this than having an actual, an actual D-pad. Oh, and I also should say this: you accelerate with the B button. C doesn't do anything, at least during gameplay, and A also does not. A brakes. A brakes. That's right. A brakes. C. Hold on. Wait. I don't think C does anything, does it? Yeah, C doesn't do anything. C doesn't do anything. A brakes. C does nothing, and B accelerates. That's really your only goal here. And like I said, your goal is just to be the beginner. You have 5 laps on this race, and it really just, it's all around a good little practice method to help you. Because you know, this game could be kind of hard for beginners. But really, that's really all I have to say about the SVP version. Oh, actually, one more thing I do have to say about the SVP version real fast. If you have records real fast that you can check, you can see. And you can check your own recs. You can check your records for your courses, and you could do better to try and get better. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe if you have a friend and you and your friend want to play, you can. With the 2 players versus mode, I don't really have a way to play it, but I'll see if I can see what I can do. It is, as you can see, it's fully split screen, and it doesn't lag or anything at all. Like, you think it would lag? No, it actually controls pretty perfectly. You know what I'm saying? Which I was personally surprised about. You have no time limit, and you're just racing around these courses, and there's only you 2 on the screen because the game can't handle more. But the fact that Sega actually put this in at all really surprises me, and I really like it. And props to Sega for doing that, because you know, they really didn't have to do that, and the fact that it is here makes this a whole lot more fun of an experience. You know what I'm saying? Also, one more thing here before we move on to the, oh my god, we're 15 minutes into the video. One more thing here before we go ahead and move on to the 32X version that you need to keep in mind here. The SVP chip is very weird. Okay, it's very weird in what it accepts and what it doesn't like. Okay, as far as consoles goes. Okay, this is a very big step that you have to keep in mind, because the SVP chip, right? If you're going out and getting a physical version of the actual Genesis version of the game, you don't need any extra hardware or anything like that. It's just a normal Genesis cartridge. You put it in your Genesis and it works. But the weird thing about the SVP chip version is it doesn't work on all Genesises. So like a Model 1 would probably work just fine, but I heard the model, if you're playing this on a Model 1, it likes to stutter a bit. I don't know if that's true. I haven't tested that, so I'm not going to say it's true. I don't even own... I'm not even going to say it's true that it doesn't, and even then there are multiple versions of the Model 1, so maybe it only stutters on the high definition version, or maybe it stutters on the version without high definition. Another thing, it works just fine on the Model 2, but if you have what might be a very rare Model 3 Sega Genesis, it does not work at all. I've heard it doesn't work at all on the Model 3. Another thing, if you have anything like the JVC, which was like a Genesis 32X Sega CD hybrid at the time, if you have one of those, again, I don't know if this works. It might work, it might not work. There was a lot of weird Genesis players out there at the time, and this game is very weird about which hardware it works on. Another thing, if you have any modern day Sega Genesis equivalents, like I have for which I use for usually normally playing my Genesis games, like if I want to play an actual Genesis game instead of breaking out one of my real Sega Genesis, because I have a Model I have a Model 1 with the high definition graphics, and I have a Model 2 that I just have a Model 2. Instead of breaking them out for recreational, I can't talk. For normal play use, I use what I got. One day I will review this little system, because I did get this for pretty cheap, and it's a fine little system. But I use what's called a GamerTech Mini Gen, and I had got this off Amazon for like $25, and what it does is it's just a normal little Sega Genesis player. It plays Sega Genesis games, and it works just fine, you know what I'm saying? But it doesn't have access to any accessories, so you can't use the Sega CD, you can't use the 32X. It's just a little replica Genesis that plays Genesis games, right? But another thing, it does not work with the SVP chip, so you cannot play virtual racing on that system. which I always found weird because I always thought the SVP chip was just a normal game and it just works like a normal Genesis game, but apparently it specially communicates with the Genesis and blah blah blah. So no, you cannot use this on like and even most other systems. I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, you ever seen those three-way systems that have like where you could play NES, SNES, and Sega Genesis on them? Yeah, it doesn't work on a lot of those either, like 99% of those. So this game is very rare and weird on what it works on. I also think it doesn't work. I also think it doesn't work on flashcards. So like, be aware. Like, that's just what I'm saying. Check your Genesis. Before you go out and get this for a Genesis, do your research. Make sure it works on your particular hardware before you go out and spend whatever money you're going to spend on this, because yeah, it's weird and specific about what hardware it wants to work on. But that being said, that's the only really caveat I could think of the SVP chip version. Is it just like, there's a lot of benefits to it, okay? But the main like scary benefit is if you're not emulating this. If you're emulating this, you'll be just fine. If you're not emulating this and you want this on real hardware, just do your research on what you're about to buy it on first, and then you should be good, okay? That being said, I'll be back with the 32X version. So here we are, back with the 32X version, and here it is. As you can see, the music is a lot better here. Virtual racing. Why does he have to say that all aggressive? Like, listen, I want you to listen real fast. Listen how aggressive he says virtual racing. Listen. Virtual racing. Virtual racing. Why does he have to say it all deluxe? But the first thing you'll notice is here in the Mighty Genesis version is, for some reason my analog stick doesn't work. I mean, this 32X version, this is obviously called Virtual Racing Deluxe, so you expect it to be deluxe. Now, the first thing you'll notice is you have Virtual Racing, you have Time Attack, 2-player versus, records, and options. Now, a lot of these are here. Now, obviously, the menu presentation is a lot better. I mean, you have a full-on 3D controller right there, a full-on 3D trophy, virtual racing cars, and, you know, everything you'd want. So you'd expect this to be a different version. Now you have multiple different cars here, which is really fun, and I really like that. You have Formula, you have Stock, and you have Prototype. Now this is a prototype car, and you have a more traditional Daytona USA type car, which we'll pick for this. And then you have Automatic and Manual. I'll go ahead and pick Automatic, which is really good here. You're expecting to have something different, and that's what I'll pick. Now the first thing you'll notice, this being Virtual Racing Deluxe, you have more courses now. You have Big Forest, Bay Bridge, Acropolis, I can't really see that, Highland, and Sand Park. But you'll notice you have more. You have 2 extra courses, and now all the courses have names, okay? So we'll go ahead and start with Big Forest, obviously, because that's the original course. Now you'll notice your pit crew are a lot slower for whatever reason, but they also here. Now you have multiple camera angles. I'll also show you this too. You do have multiple camera angles. Personally, I'd stick with the normal one, and I don't know how I feel about this version, because in all honesty, obviously it looks way better. It's a lot clearer, but you still have no music during gameplay, which, you know what I'm saying, it's kind of dumb. You know what I'm saying? Now, the draw distance is a lot better here than with the SVP chip could ever do. The game in general just looks a lot better because the 32X has the ability to draw 10 times more polygons than the SVP chip does. So the game looks almost I almost want to say, I don't want to say arcade perfect. I don't want to say that by any statement at all, because let's be honest here, the Genesis, the Saturn can't even do an arcade perfect version of Daytona USA. You think this can do an arcade version of virtual racing? Maybe, I don't know. It's very nice though. That much I can say. You can see the map is a lot more detailed, and the racers look a lot better. The cars feel better, although they feel slower for me for some reason. To me, I don't know if that's just me or if it's not me. I don't know. The game just feels a lot slower here for me, and I don't know how I feel about that. You know what I'm saying? But like, as you can see, it just works a lot better. The sound is a lot better, which I never understood because the 32X is still just using the Genesis for sound. But they got the music a little bit better here. You know what I'm saying? Now, personally, I would have preferred this to be a Sega CD 32X combo because you would have got the music, but I probably wouldn't have been reviewing it if it was a Sega CD 32X combo because those are kind of hard to review, like unless you have a real Sega CD and 32X. But I mean, the game works perfectly. Okay, it works fine. It looks fine, and with this being the deluxe version, you obviously get better stuff. This being drawn on the 32X, which in itself was basically its own little console. It only used the Genesis really for sound, and that was it. I think it used the Genesis for sound and color. I think that was, no, not colors. I forgot what else it used the Genesis for. But in the most part, it really only used the Genesis for sound, if we're being honest here. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, the 32X is doing all of the work. The Genesis isn't really doing anything here. You know what I'm saying? Which makes the game obviously a lot better. It's a lot more powerful. The sound, it looks a lot better. Like I said, the maps are very much more detailed here than what they are in the original Genesis version. At least we're talking about the original 3 maps, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's 2 new original maps, which is very huge, you know what I'm saying? Which is very huge and very cool. I never knew that this version, actually this is my first time ever playing this version because I don't own a 32X, at least not anymore. Maybe I used to. I don't own one now, at least. So I haven't ever played this version, which is very cool. You know what I'm saying? It's very cool. Now, obviously, when you get into this version, to get this version, you have to take a huge leap of faith. Like I said, with the SVP chip, you really only have to buy the game, and as long as it works on your particular Genesis, you're good. You know what I'm saying? And with this version, you only have to. With this version, you gotta own a 32X, you gotta own a Genesis, you gotta own a 32X, and you gotta own a copy of the game, which is a very big investment. And I should have lost there, but I didn't. That's a very big investment to ask someone to get into. You know what I'm saying? To buy all the extra hardware just to play this version of Virtual Racing, which, and in all honesty, really isn't that different from Virtual Racing on. See, as you can see, there's new stuff like that, which is very cool. Now, we'll try it. Now, I'll spare you trying these other maps, and we'll just go get right into the 2 new maps. So, Highland first. As you can see, it's its own exclusive map. I don't know if it's harder or easier. Hold on. That music kind of sounds good. Wait a second. Oh, I was gonna say, maybe these stages actually have, now you see, the Genesis wasn't gonna be able to handle this. There's buildings and all that. The SVP chip version of the game would probably explode, if we're being honest here. Your Genesis would probably blow up, you know what I'm saying? But with the 32X being in play here, and obviously having a lot more power than what the Genesis could offer, you get 2 new stages, which is very cool of Sega, you know what I'm saying? And all of itself alone, I would eventually, I'm not going to say anything yet, but in of its own self alone, I think the 2 extra stages would automatically make this the better version to get. But we're assuming real fast, right? Like I said, the deciding factor for this is assuming you have a 32X, okay? Assuming you have a 32X and you have a capable Sega Genesis, you know what I'm saying? Which is every Genesis but Model 3 or any like a modern day replica Genesis, you know, replica Genesis consoles. If your console has the capability to do 32X, which is any Model 2 or any Model 1, then this would obviously, and you actually own a 32X, I'm not even gonna josh you. I'm not even gonna joke around with you or play with you. This is the definitive version, for real. Like I said, you're getting better graphics here, you know what I'm saying? You're getting more cars, you know, you're getting a smoother experience. The game obviously runs at a higher frame rate than what the Genesis version does. Like, I think this game runs at, what, maybe 30 FPS? I think it was 30 FPS, and the Genesis runs at something like 15, which is, like, outrageously crazy, you know what I'm saying? But this game obviously plays a lot smoother than what the Genesis SVP chip is capable of. Your view distance is a lot further than with the Genesis. Now, there's obviously going to be popping, you know what I'm saying? I mean, look, you can see it popping in now, but I mean, who cares about popping in a game like this when you expect that anyway? You should expect that anyway, you know what I'm saying? We're not going to go anywhere, but still, like, this is obviously the definitive version to get. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we just go ahead and reset if we just go ahead and reset real fast, if it hurries up, if we actually just go ahead and reset real fast, obviously this was under the Sega Sports line, by the way. Virtual Racing. I don't know how he went that. I don't know why he didn't have to do that, man. But obviously, you can go on the options real fast. There really isn't here. You can have a level. We'll just go ahead and turn that on. And I mean, you can see the options are very simple. You know what I'm saying? But you also have the time attack mode here, and like I said, with you having 3 new cars, which is very cool, and you having 2 new maps. You know what I'm saying? 3 new playstyles and 2 new maps to choose from, especially with. Hold on, that song is epic. Especially when you compare it to like the what the bare bone Genesis version was able to handle. You know what I'm saying? Also having new camera angles similar to the arcade version, and overall just being a better experience when it comes to everything from graphics to design to sound to feel to gameplay. The 32X version is the version you want, hands down. Even having if I'll restart one more time, even having a smoother 2-player experience would make this the definitive version alone. Like, it is called Virtual Racing Deluxe. You know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, like I said, we're looking at this from a certain perspective real fast, and you can see you still have, you know, your normal 2-player mode. We'll just go ahead and pick Sand Park. And you can get in, it's still split screen for the most part. It's still almost exactly the same multiplayer, just it is a lot smoother, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Whereas the Genesis version tends to feel a little bit more laggy, you know what I'm saying? This is definitely the more fun 2-player mode, you know what I'm saying? You have the better graphics, you have the better sound, and the split screen is it feels a little bit bigger, because it felt more cropped on the Genesis version. And obviously with this running at a higher frame rate, it's a lot more fun to play this version than it is to play the Genesis version, you know what I'm saying? But I'll let y'all be the judge of that. With that being said, in all honesty, give me a second, I'll be right back. So, that being said, what is truly the definitive version of Virtual Racing? Would it be over here towards the left, the SVP chip version, or over here towards the right, the Sega 32X version? Well, in all honesty, if we're being honest here, it has to go to the deluxe version. So, sorry, SVP chip version. Hold on, I'll quickly talk about you real fast. You have your redeeming qualities, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, you don't need anything special. You just need the Genesis, you know what I'm saying? So you're plug and play, you know what I'm saying? And you just have to have a capable Genesis being able to play this. You have all 3 original courses. You have the original music, and you do feel pretty nice to play. But at the same time, you're kind of bare bones for what you are. You're like just a straight up arcade port. You are missing the special you are missing the other camera angles, and really, I mean, overall, like, you're a good port, okay? Now, like I said, if you don't have access to a 32X, right, and you do have access to a Genesis that can run this game, or you're just going to emulate it, which if you're just going to emulate it, why would you even think about the Genesis version in the first place? But if you have access to a Genesis that can't, and you don't have a 32X, this would be the port for you. It works just fine, you know what I'm saying? It plays just fine. You got all 3 original courses. You still do have that multiplayer mode, you know what I'm saying? But you don't have what the deluxe version does. Like, this is okay port. It's just a bare bones port, okay? That's really it, you know what I'm saying? Only problem, like I said, only caveat to this version right here is you cannot at all, like, you cannot, what was I gonna say? You gotta be careful what Genesis you have. But other than that, this is a perfectly playable version. But that being said, it isn't this version. And this version right here, if it decides to work on me, okay, we'll do that because, you know, it's not wanting to work for me. Okay, this version right here just utterly destroys that version in every single way possible, whether it be graphics, sound, gameplay, whatever you want to talk about. This version utterly destroys the Genesis version. It has a smoother frame rate, it runs better, it sounds better, it feels better. It has 2 extra stages. It actually has the special camera angles, you know what I'm saying? So you can choose how you want to play the game. It has a smoother 2-player experience. It has all the exact same features as the Genesis version and more. Feels better, looks better, sounds better, runs better, and it's ultimately just a better experience. But at the end of the day, the only caveat you have with this version is you need to own a 32X. If you don't own a 32X, this version is completely locked out to you, and you got to get the SVP chip version. That being said, this is the winner of the debate. This is the definitive version of virtual racing for the Sega Genesis. That being said, if you're new here, if you could subscribe, that'll be really awesome. We're literally 2 subscribers away from 200, so make sure to subscribe. And who knows, you can be our lucky 200th subscriber. And if you are, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll shout you out because you're the 200th subscriber. But that being said, if you're new here, if you could subscribe, that'll be really awesome. We're trying to wait. I literally just restarted what I was saying. Look, I've been the world's coolest Sega enthusiast, Sega Slayer 64, and until next time, have a good one, Slayers.
Virtual racing.
Virtual racing.